Big Buck Registry, Big Buck Podcast, episode number 12. Big Buck Registry is a virtual museum of hunting stories. We preserve a piece of Americana by interviewing and recording hunters about their hunts and experiences from across the country. And who knows, maybe we'll learn a thing or two along the way that'll help us take our hunt to the next level.
Hey y'all, this is Kari and Billy.
Please check out our new single, Play Me a Fiddle Song. It'll be out to all the radio stations in America, so call into your local radio station. You are listening to Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jay Scott, your host of the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast. I am so glad you are joining us again today on the Big Buck Registry, and we have a fantastic lineup. We actually got to speak with Kari and Billy, Kari Nelson and Billy Arnold, two rising country music stars, and both of them found each other in Nashville. This is one of those classic romance stories that you just love to hear about. And Kari and Billy wrote a song called Whitetail Ridge, and it was retweeted by Outdoor Life, and we watched the music video, and boy, it sure resonated. We thought that this entire song, the message behind the song, resonated to every single piece of our souls at the Big Buck Registry and our contingent in our community. So we thought it would be most appropriate to talk to Kari and Billy about how they got together, how they formed Kari and Billy, and what they're doing in Nashville and where they see their careers going and how they got into music, all that kind of great stuff. Let me just read to you a quick excerpt of the lyrics behind the song Whitetail Ridge, and you tell me if this doesn't resonate with you a little bit. Now before the break of dawn, got your camouflage and coffee on. I'm off the whole weekend, and there's a cold front moving in. First thing I do when I climb my stand is bow my head and thank the man. While I'm waiting on daybreak, I feel my heart race up here on Whitetail Ridge. Now, if that doesn't send a message that is every single bit about being a part of the Big Buck Registry community, I don't know what is. So I'm going to play a little excerpt here from Whitetail Ridge. Have a listen, and then when we come back, we're going to jump right into the interview. So kick back, enjoy. Hope you enjoy the show, and we'll see you on the other side.
Coffee on. I'm off the whole weekend and there's a cold front moving in. First thing I do when I climb my stand is bow my head and thank the man. And while I'm waiting on daybreak, I feel my heart race. Up here on Whitetail Ridge, we know how to hunt, we know how to fish. We love our country, we love this land, and we're proud to be free. From the ground we plow, the stands we hang, we believe a man should pull his weight. We know what real hunting really is. Up on Whitetail Ridge.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Jay Scott from the Big Buck Registry, and I am here with Kari and Billy, the singers and creators of Whitetail Ridge, a great hunting and fishing video that kind of struck home with us. We thought it was a great opportunity to bring them onto our show. Kari, Billy, welcome to the Big Buck Registry.
Thank you so much.
Howdy, y'all.
We're so psyched you joined us. We're absolutely huge fans of your video, and we think that you captured a lot of what our audience is all about.
Great. That's what you kind of intended with the song, wasn't it?
That's right. I just, I wanted to write a song about hunting, but hunting to people who really enjoy it, it's a lot more than that, my papa got me into hunting and fishing when I was real young, and it really has been, I don't know, it's been something for me my entire life, and I feel like I'll still be hunting and fishing up till the last days for me, and it always bring back special memories, and it really does come down to hard work. The harder you're willing to work and the more patient you are and reserve, the better the end result. And so I think that's a good lesson to apply to life,
Right. I completely agree. I think the majority of our audience on the Big Buck Registry will be hunting till the last, probably die in the stand, to be honest. I think that's probably
right.
how it's going to happen. Yep.
That would be one of the best places to go, I reckon.
Yep, I agree. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I actually grew up in South Central Florida. I was born at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa. But, kind of a lot of people get an idea about Florida because when you go there, you generally go there on vacation and you generally go to the beach or Disney World or something like that. But we lived in a town called Plant City. It's just kind of a farmer's town. And then we moved over to a phosphate town called Mulberry, Florida. And basically where I grew up kind of running around, it was nothing but sage fields and ponds and creeks. And, you could go for a long, long way without passing any houses if you head in the right direction, I mean, for several hours through Central Florida, it's just a lot of wetlands, a lot of live oaks and palmettos, and so that's kind of the way I grew up. I was always just kind of hunting and fishing, and I started into sports and all that as old as I could, time I could get into them. But I started shooting a bow probably, I guess I was about 3 years old when I started bass fishing and shooting a bow, and my papa kind of got me into that. And the Dukes of Hazzard, probably. I better give them some credit.
Yeah,
they were. I wasn't allowed to shoot anything that blew up, but they made it look cool. So I love shooting a bow, but I really wasn't allowed to go hunting until I was about 9 years old. I finally got to start going, and just always, for me, I was always wanting to be outside. I never got enough of it. I was just obsessed with chasing something. I basically would every day be found just walking around. I'd have a fishing pole in one hand and my tackle box and my 22 or my BB gun. Yep. If I go back a little further, and that was me every day. No shoes, no shirt, and a BB gun and a fishing pole, and that's pretty much the way I spent my childhood, just kind of running around like that. And it was down, I guess, Mulberry's probably about an hour southeast of Tampa.
Okay.
So,
gotcha. And Kari, what about you?
Well, I was born kind of 2,000 miles the other direction in northern Minnesota. Actually, it was about 10 miles from the Canadian border, I guess.
Yeah.
And I actually took violin lessons in Canada, so we spent a good bit of time up there. I went up there every other week to take violin lessons from the time I was pretty young. Started violin lessons when I was 7, and then I started up at the Manitoba Conservatory of Music when I was 11, up there in Winnipeg. So we were real close to Canada, but not in Canada. Although Billy says sometimes that I could just as well be Canadian.
Yeah, the line's pretty blurred up there.
Yeah, yeah.
They were about 10 miles from Canada. That's close enough.
Anyways, so I guess mostly I started music really young, and I played with my sisters a lot. My older sister played piano. I started violin when I was 7, so she would accompany me on the piano a lot. And my younger sister sang, and she dabbled in the flute. And so we put on programs and such, and as a family, for churches and fairs and harvest festivals, things of that nature. So performing and music and all that was pretty quickly something that I enjoyed doing and something that I was used to doing. So I guess mainly the arts, I guess, is what I spent most of my time doing. I loved acting. I was in a lot of summer theater and speech programs and stuff like that. So I guess that was mainly my deal growing up for the most part.
So there's an interesting contrast here between your childhoods.
That's right.
You notice that?
I did a lot of acting, but it was generally trying to get me out of getting a spanking.
Yes.
And my mom could see through that act most 99% of the time.
No.
But definitely we were polar opposites. We've said a million times we wish we'd have found each other a lot younger, but then at the same time, if Kari would have found me when I was younger, she'd have probably threw me back.
Right. That's interesting. Now, at some point, you had to transition your lives to a point where music kind of brought you together, and hunting and fishing must have brought you together as well.
In some ways, yes. Actually, it all kind of intertwines in a way. But we met in Nashville.
Okay.
And him being from Florida and me being from Minnesota, it was kind of cool to meet in the middle like that. But we actually met pretty soon after each of us moved to Nashville. We moved to Nashville about a couple years apart, and we met playing in the same venue, I guess, down at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge on Broadway in Nashville. So that's how we ran into each other, and definitely hit it off because, I mean, I guess what technically brought us together is, you know, our worldview and our morals and our just the outlook on life, I guess, in general. And you know, I liked the idea of a country boy that liked to hunt and fish.
Right.
And had a truck, so I was all about that. And he, you know, I guess I was what he was looking for too, in a sense. Even though
she was actually more than what I was looking for to the point where it took me about 3 years to admit that I liked her. Because a man's got to be realistic, you know what I mean? And I looked at her and I looked at me, and the math didn't add up. And anyhow, but aside from that, Kari was a real special person, honestly, and I just really, I don't know, sometimes when you're looking at yourself in life, you want to be realistic about yourself, and I felt like, you know, she deserved somebody that could come in and just sweep her off her feet and offer her the world, and she was somebody that had such a presence. She could have had anybody that she wanted, you know. I figured she'd kind of be getting cheated in life if she got stuck with somebody like I am, and so it took me a while, honestly, to find the peace to come clean about the way I felt about her, and I prayed an awful lot about it, and just really asked guidance from God. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing something out of greed, you know, me wanting, you know, to be with her and overlooking what might be best for her. And so I prayed and prayed about it, and my friends talked to me a lot about it, and finally they continued to encourage me, and they thought I was about out of my mind not trying to talk to her. But I did talk to her a lot as a friend, but I also felt like if I flirted with her or I advanced anything in that direction, it would kind of it might nullify, you know, what I was doing. I would right. say encouraging things to her, and I would try to maybe cheer her up if I thought she was down, or just try to be an encouraging friend to her. And I thought that, you know what, if I start flirting with her, then she'll figure, you know, hey, he's just saying that stuff to get to know me. And I really didn't want her to think that, because the things I was saying to her, I really wholeheartedly meant from the bottom of my heart. And so it just took a while. You know, I guess it was about probably 4 years of knowing each other, maybe even 5, before I ever came clean and told her how I felt about her.
Yeah, and my calls back home were something like, Mom, I don't know what is up with this guy. He seems like he sort of kind of likes me, but then he never really says anything that signals in that direction, so I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, her mom told me a couple times she called and she was just flat aggravated that I didn't make any kind of advancements, or even she told her mom, I think he just doesn't even like me at all. I think he thinks I'm a stupid little girl. And so totally opposite of what I was really thinking, but I was just trying to do the responsible thing, you know.
Right. Yeah, you guys have a very good dynamic, just so you know. And you probably know that already, but I'm feeling it. I think it's good. I think it's really good. I think you got a lot of things ahead of you.
Thank you.
We didn't even know, even when we got together and started dating, we didn't have a clue that we would be a duo, you know. I mean, I was playing fiddle, I guess, mostly just being a musician and backup singer for other artists, and he was doing his own solo stuff. He recorded an album of his own back in 2009 and was just working on that stuff. And the way we were able to become a duo was really, again, another work of God, because it just wouldn't have worked out any other way, you know what I mean? And so that even in itself was pretty exciting that we were given this opportunity, because, you know, both of us had said, you know, we really love music and we really love traveling for music and stuff, but it's just not the same, you know, when you can't do it with somebody that you really care about, and then you have to leave the person you really care about and, you know, go your separate ways. And a lot of people make it work, and kudos to them, because it's tough. It really would be so tough. I can't really even imagine it. But the fact that we're able to do this and do it together is just really a blessing. So, you know,
we
felt really happy about that.
Yeah, we felt like the time apart would definitely be an unhealthy challenge, you know, in a lot of ways, but we didn't think at all that we would become a duo. It wasn't even on our mind. We wound up playing a show together, and I just thought it would be a fun show, and it was a halfway point. It was in Iowa, and we were going up to Kari's mom and dad's place so that I could meet her father, and it was the first time I was going up there to visit, and some folks out of Iowa had saw me playing in Panama City Beach and asked if I would come play their club, and I didn't think we'd be able to do it. And then it was a small club, and they said, "Hey, we're a real small club, but would you consider coming by?" And I knew that Kari and I was going there. In about 2 months, we were going to be going up to Roseau, Minnesota, and so I figured, it's about halfway. It'll give us some gas money and some food money. And I asked Kari, "Would you like to play this show? It'll just kind of help us out on the way up and back." And so we did it, and lo and behold, the people that own the place, they saw us play together, and they said, "You know what, both of y'all are great apart, but there's something really special about y'all together. Would you consider taking your focus and becoming a duo full time?" And Kari was playing for Big and Rich at the time and doing a lot of shows for John Rich, and I've always been a solo artist, and so we hadn't even given it any thought. And so again, we turned to prayer, and we prayed a lot about it, and we tried to shoot it down every way we could think of to make sure that we were thinking of all the different points and what it would entail and what our responsibilities would be to one, ourselves, and two, for our investors and our career. And so anyhow, we talked it over, and we prayed about it a lot, and kind of stepped out on a leap of faith with this as a duo. And the Lord has really blessed us, because there's so many things that have fallen in place that we can't take credit for. Some people could just say, "Hey, we just caught some lucky breaks," but we feel like it's definitely not lucky breaks. God has smiled down on us, and He's opened some doors that we couldn't open on our own, and so a lot of things have changed since I guess a year and a half or so when we decided to do this together.
Right. And honestly, that's how Whitetail Ridge came to be too, because we met some folks in Iowa through our investors there, through that gig that we played together, and became a duo. And they're the ones that own Whitetail Ridge, as it were, the actual place that the song is written about. And they let us stay up there a couple times, and Billy got to hunt up there last year. And basically, Jeff State, the guy that owns the place, he told Billy, "Well, I'll let you hunt on my land, but you have to write a song about it." And so that's how that song came.
He dangled the carrot right out in front of me, and because I've been dreaming about hunting Iowa since I was a kid, literally. And so anyway, when he said you got to write a song about Whitetail Ridge, I thought, well, it may sound corny, but I'm going to write something, Even if it sounds like green eggs and ham, I'm going to figure out something.
It came out good.
And that's so Whitetail Ridge is a real place.
Yeah,
it is,
and it's in Iowa.
That's right. It's in
Physically
Iowa
and figuratively, really.
Yeah, it's in Meaderville, Iowa, and then kind of what I wanted to do with it is everybody's got that spot, and that's kind of what I want to say. It doesn't matter if you call it Whitetail Ridge or where it might be, state to state. We all have that spot, that we think about. maybe it's our favorite spot right now, or maybe it's that first spot you can remember that your papa set you down at, and
or a place that you dream going to, or something.
Yeah. And so, that's kind of what it was about. Is everybody's got that special spot, and what it means to them could be something totally different. But that's kind of, it seems so strange to look back. But that little trip to Iowa, that we almost didn't do at all, has been kind of the catalyst to which everything's come from as far as us as a duo.
Gotcha. Now, Billy, you were running around Florida as a child, shooting stuff,
Yeah.
fishing and getting in trouble. And how did you find music?
Oh my gosh, accidentally, honestly. I never dreamed in a million years I would sing, or, I never got in talent shows. I never, school dances, all of that stuff, I shied away from all of that. I didn't do any of the prom, all that stuff, never did any of those things. And I don't know what happened was I'd moved to South Alabama when I grew up and kind of got out of school. I moved to Alabama, and a buddy of mine, we had gone over to my grandparents and we were fishing, and we were down at the pond fishing, and we were gonna go do something. I think, as corny as it sounds, to be honest, I think we were going skating that night. And so anyhow, you could edit that part out. But anyhow,
No way.
it was like roller skating. So yeah. It was,
Well, I think roller skating and Dukes of Hazzard kind of went hand in hand back then.
well, hey, that's right, man. So anyhow, we're gonna go roller skating, and I told him, I said, man, I'm gonna head up to the house and get my shower, and so nobody was in the house. My grandparents had gone somewhere, and so apparently he came in to get some sweet tea while I was in the shower, and I thought he was still downstairs, or down at the pond. So I was just in there singing like always when I thought nobody was around, and he told me he thought I sounded really good, and I thought he was kidding, so I was about ready to punch him, but I thought he was really just having fun at me. But anyhow, he was persistent, that he was dead serious about it, and so a couple more people I wound up singing at this campfire, like maybe a few weeks later or something like that, and everybody just kept really encouraging me to go sing in front of people, and I honestly was too scared, but I went to this karaoke bar, and there was probably a couple hundred people there, and I got up to sing, and I about had a heart attack, literally. I felt like I was about to pass out, and it was really strange from that particular time. That was like on a Sunday night, and the owner of that club talked me into singing at a karaoke contest on the Wednesday across town, and I sang in that. And Friday was the final. So I won it on Wednesday night. Friday, every winner from the 10 weeks previous came in, and I won that one on Friday as well. And their annual contest at the first place I sang was the following Sunday. So it was 1 week from the first time I sang on a microphone to the next time they were having their annual contest, and there was about 150 contestants, and I won second place in that. And so about maybe 1 month later, I was in a band touring around the U.S., and that's how I got started. It was very lucky and bizarre, and again, I use luck, but I feel like the Lord had a big hand in it, because otherwise, had it been up to me, I'd have never ever done it. I was far too scared to even talk in front of a big audience, let alone sing to them.
Wow, no kidding. So it kind of happened fairly quickly, right? It just
it did. I was 22 and didn't even know how to play an instrument or anything, and so I started singing, and I felt really corny not being able to play my own music. So I taught myself to play guitar, and then I automatically started writing songs and liked that a lot, and so just kind of fell into it.
Gotcha. Kari, okay, let's transition over to where you grew up. You grew up in the arts and learned to play the violin and acting. And how did you get into hunting?
Well, my mom's side of the family always had hunting camp and stuff like that. Her sister is really into it, and her brothers, and her dad was too, before he passed away. And honestly, neither of my parents hunted at all, but I grew up around it, just learning to respect it and that sort of thing. So I didn't grow up hunting in the least, I guess, but we did fishing and such, but we weren't diehards like Billy was and his family and that sort of thing. But like I said, I grew up around it enough to where I loved and respected it anyways. And I didn't start hunting until I've gotten together with Billy, because he has kind of shown me the ropes and showed me how to get into it. I got a bow through Bowtech Archery. Actually, we're endorsed by them now, so I was able to get a bow through them and started target practice, and I was able to go on a turkey hunt when we filmed for Country Goes Hunting, and was able to get my first turkey then. And I haven't dared to actually go deer hunting yet. I went on a deer hunt with Billy and filmed for him, so I'm still very slowly getting into it, but he's the one that has really gotten me into it. Like I said, I was around it, I grew up with it, my mom's side of the family was into it, and they had their deer camp, and actually Billy has gone up to their deer camp now. They've named it Camp Wannabuck.
2 years in a row.
Yes, and so they're very proud of their deer camp up there. So we used to go up there, and visit and have lunches and stuff out there when they were on their breaks and such. They're very relaxed about their hunting. They take a lot of breaks, but
that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I grew up. I guess was my the way I got into hunting anyway. But yeah, it's kind of totally opposite in a sense, because I was in music from the very beginning and just recently got into hunting, so it's kind of flip-flopped there.
Gotcha. I gotta say, there's nothing that I like better than hearing an acoustic guitar and a violin together. I think that is just some of the best sound that you can get.
Me too. I really do love it, and that's what's made this so much fun, because for the first few years of knowing Kari, and I only knew her as, my friend and also a fiddle player here in town. She was regarded as one of the best. People always looked to work with her because she had a way of really drawing a crowd. Everybody knew it. They would put her on the best shifts because she really had a way of getting people into the place and hanging on to them. They loved to watch her play and listen to her play and sing. And so for me, when we got to play together, when we first started, there were so many times my mind is like an index with songs. I just literally have memorized thousands and thousands of songs. And when we first started playing, so many times I would just kind of drop the words because I was listening to her play. It sounded so good to me. I've always really, really loved that combination too. And, just getting to play music with her and hear her harmonies and hear her play her fiddle, because she's got a tone that is just, it's just so warm. And it's not always that way. Different folks that I would hire onto a gig, no offense to them, but I would know, I'll look for something different next time, because I just wasn't really thrilled with the tone, and maybe their chops were really, really good. But each time I would be able to hire Kari, every time it was like, golly, I wish that I could get her to play with me every show, because she's fantastic. But of course, like normal, she was out of my league and I could only get her once in a while.
But now you get to play music together all the time, so that works out.
Yeah, that worked out pretty good. Okay, here's a good question.
Okay.
Is it a fiddle or a violin?
I almost wrote an essay on this one time and tried to get it published in like a violin magazine or something like that, because I thought it'd be really cool, because I feel like, fiddle players get asked that a lot.
Everywhere we go.
It's, honestly, it's a good question, and there really isn't any difference in the instrument, really. It's honestly mostly the type of music that you play on it. It's the same instrument, built the same way. There are slight differences, I guess. If you're more of a fiddle player, you'll have a bit of a flatter cut bridge. The bridge is the part that kind of arches over and holds the strings up off of the base of the fiddle.
Okay.
And so if you're playing more fiddle, it'll be more of a flatter cut bridge for the most part. And sometimes you use a different type of bow, depending on what you're wanting, I guess. And with violin, you'll use a different type of strings, I guess. If you're wanting to play more orchestral type music, you'll use strings that are more, geared towards that. But other than that, it's pretty much the exact same thing. It's just sort of a culture thing and the style of music that you're playing on it. So wish I had a more interesting
there's
answer.
Actually three styles. When you're playing classical, that's kind of like violin. If you're playing country, that would be a fiddle. And when I play it, it would be firewood.
Gotcha.
I can make some terrible sounds come out of that thing.
It seems like quite a skill. I wouldn't even know where to begin. It's how long did it take you to master that, Kari?
Well, I don't believe I really have mastered it, to be honest. It's
okay.
I feel like it's a lifelong thing, I guess, and I'm hoping that I will continue to get better as I go along. When I picked it up, I guess I was a fairly quick learner as far as just kind of getting the gist of how to play it in a sense, but you're always mastering the violin because it's like he said, it's a tone thing, and because of the fact that there's no frets, you have to have a very good ear in order to make sure you're not playing just a little bit off, and then of course there's the finger work and there's the bow patterns and the speed and that sort of thing. So there's different types of styles I'd like to master better. I would like to get better at the more jazzy type licks. I'd like to improve my bluegrass style and that sort of thing. But I guess as far as
she's also her worst critic. So,
but I did start learning classical music, and that helped me out a lot with just getting the base of how to play the instrument well and how to get good sounds out of it. And I think that's maybe where the tone thing came from, was starting with the classical lessons. So, and I owe that to my mom because she used to drive me up 2 hours one way, 2 hours back for my lessons. So it wasn't very readily available lessons in the area I lived in, small town of Roseau. So she was dedicated to get me my lessons, and I think it's paying off now. But I can't say that I've mastered it yet, but I'm working on it.
Kudos to Mom to bringing you 2 hours to
yes,
lessons.
Absolutely. I don't know how she did that, and then everything else.
That's excellent.
Also homeschooled.
She was like
us 3
Superwoman,
girls, so.
No kidding. She really went above and beyond. I did the math one time, and I forget. I wish that I had it handy right now, but the amount of driving that her mom would do in a year's time was crazy.
Right.
I'm talking most truck drivers won't ever hit those marks.
And my dad's a truck driver, so.
That's right. So between her mom and dad, they've covered the globe several times on the highway.
Wow, that's awesome. It definitely paid
I guess
off.
that's where I get my love for travel.
It definitely paid off, guys. So
well, thank you.
I think that's awesome. Isn't it interesting?
I'll tell her you said.
Yes, definitely. Let her know that. That would be great. Isn't it interesting how the better you get at a craft, the less you feel like you know?
Absolutely.
You ever find that?
And I think that's in all walks, because you start to understand, whether it's your golf game or an instrument, or if you played pool or swam, the more that you understand about it, that's kind of whenever the brain starts working and you really see how you could never possibly master it, Well,
the more you realize how complex it really is, and the more you see how much you could really do with it, and how limited you really are with the, what you could really accomplish. So I think that's what makes you keep working hard and makes you keep striving to be better. And I'm glad it's designed that way, because otherwise we would just become complacent, I guess.
Some of it probably comes with age too, because whenever I was a kid and I would grab a coat hanger and pretend to play guitar, I didn't realize I could get any better than I already was at that moment.
Right.
Because to me, I was rocking that coat hanger, and the coat hanger served 2 purposes. it was my pretend bow, and it was also a guitar.
Right.
He had it all mastered by then.
Yeah, a multi-purpose tool. Excellent. It is interesting. As you get older, you start to realize, but that same thing. Like, you get really good at a craft. The older you get, you realize that there's so much more that you want to try to figure out.
Correct.
Tell me about Whitetail Ridge, the music video that caught our eye. It was retweeted by Outdoor Life, and we picked up on it, and we played it. Like, wow, these guys are all over what we believe in about hunting and fishing in America, and just everything we love about our country. And tell us about how that started. How did you start to create that song?
Well, for one, thank you so much, because for you to mention those points and to mention the fact that it touched home with you, that's what I wanted to do. People ask me a lot of times how I write songs. I write, everything that we've recorded, I wrote, and my last album, I wrote and produced that album as well. And some songs I'll just make up. It's not about anything. It's kind of relativity. I'll try to think of something that people can relate to, and maybe I'll just make something up. Something popped into my head. But then when you write about something that matters to you, whether it be a song I write about Kari, or a song that I wrote a song when my papa passed away, the guy that got me into hunting, those are the kind that you really want to be the truth. You want it to mean more, because it really does. It means more to you. So you can't get by with just making some words rhyme and giving it a good melody. So that was the tough part about Whitetail Ridge for me, because I didn't want to sell short the hunting community, because so many people, especially nowadays, I'm very traditional kind of guy, and for one, I don't think that being traditional should be old fashioned. When people say, "Oh, it's old fashioned," if having manners and respect and working for what you have is old fashioned, then we need to wake up, because those things should be commonplace. And so with Whitetail Ridge, I really wanted to point on those things as much as I could in a time frame that you have for a song,
right,
and still have it make sense and melodically be pleasing, But that's what I wanted to get done with that song. I wanted people to understand, the full circle about the outdoors, without the conservationists out there, without the hunting community, all the money that's generated through the different outdoor sports, the preservation, the wildlife management. Without those things, it would be a totally different situation, because as our population increases, it becomes our responsibility. And a lot of people don't understand that balance, and it's no fault to them in a lot of situations, because they didn't have the opportunity to be taught those things. And growing up, if my papa or my uncle, any of my uncles that would take me hunting, if they saw you throw a piece of trash on the ground, they'll slap you in the back of the head, because right, you don't do that type of thing. And from an early age, we would walk miles and miles. I didn't grow up where there was tons of good deer hunting and stuff like that, and so you had to work awful hard to even see anything. And the older I got, I would see people that, they spend hours and hours farming. My buddy on Whitetail Ridge, he works a full-time job that's a high-paced, very stressful type job. But he also works a darn near full-time job farming his land out there to grow big deer, but the product remains that you're working for something, you're wanting to earn your way, and that comes back to our troops, and I wanted to point on that, because the way our country is free is not by chance, and it's not a give me. It's something that was earned, it's something that's continually protected, and I just wanted all those things. I really had so much bottled up in that song, and I was hoping that there'd be a way that I could get it all in there. That way, if somebody listened to it that was not a hunter at all, maybe it would give them an idea about hunting that they didn't have before. And, it's not just, hey, Tom, let's get a beer and go shoot us up something. Because, they try to do that on TV all the time, but that's
Right.
not the way real hunters are.
Right.
Real hunting, and, it's kind of so many of the same core principles that I feel like are traditional but should not be old-fashioned. They relate to the household the same way they relate to the outdoors, because, like I said, if we went somewhere and didn't leave the place better than what we found it, my granddad, you'd be in trouble. And if you went out there and you just did something stupid that wasn't very ethical, again, you'd be in trouble for that. And so we kind of, we got taught early on, you need to earn your keep. You need to be responsible for your actions. And there is a penalty when you're not. And so all of those things, I guess, with Whitetail Ridge, the part I'm most excited about is when people comment about it, they don't say, man, your voice sounds great, or man, those the harmonica sounds cool, or the fiddle is awesome. They talk about the character of the song. And although we take pride in our instruments, surely, but for someone to say that they can relate with things that you're talking about that are very principal to you and that really register in your heart and your morals, it makes you feel good. And it makes you feel good to know that there's a lot of people out there that still relate to traditional, values and the hard work that goes into them.
Right. And that's a good point. I mean, the music sounds awesome. The harmonics, everything that went into the music is great.
Thank you.
And the message is also great. And I think that's what makes a great song.
Thank you very much. And with Kari too, that points on another thing, because anybody that hears this podcast, they could keep in mind too, Kari didn't grow up hunting, and she doesn't go out all the time hunting and get in the stand with me before daylight, but still she understands it and she likes to go and participate. And there's so many things about the outdoor life that you can relate to and enjoy, even if maybe you would like dove hunting or duck hunting or squirrel hunting, or maybe you just like the camp life. But it really is a big community with a lot to offer, and it really teaches you a lot of things that you can apply to your life and just be a better person for it.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And Billy, you wrote the song, is that correct?
I did. I wrote it, and I produced it, and Kari co-produced it with me.
Gotcha. And who shot the video?
That was a group out of Des Moines, Iowa, called Applied Art.
Okay.
And hey, big shout out to them, because I tell you what, Kari and I was on a pretty strenuous schedule. We gave them not even one full day to shoot that. There were so many things that everybody wanted to do, but there were some timing issues on our traveling, and we basically had probably about a 6-hour window for them to film, and so they did a fantastic job with what we gave them to work with.
They did a great job. One of the things that we love about it is, of course, the big buck that shows up in the middle doing his scrape.
Hey, do you know that buck got probably about 70 yards from me, and whenever he lifts his head and stops in that cornfield, that's because I grunted at him just so we could try to get some footage or to see if he would maybe turn. The sad thing is that buck was going to come towards me, but a much smaller buck, as soon as that buck came out, the doe walked over to where he was at. The other buck lifted his head, realized what was going on, ran over there and ran him off. And so he skirted to the outside of us rather than coming on the track that would have brought him right past the stand.
No kidding. That's a nice looking deer. Is he still running around?
Yeah, he is. He made it through the season. And the other buck that poses kind of in the same spot and does the same thing, we've dubbed him BA. And the reason being is my buddy sent me a trail cam picture of that buck probably about August or September. And I photoshopped the deer and sent it back to him. And I said, you know what? I zoomed in on that. It's remarkable. You need to look on his thigh. There's an odd birthmark. And I had scribbled the initials BA on there. And so he got his name BA. So I tell you, they found his shed. his shed I think was 74 inches on the one side. So and the other side was much bigger. So this coming year he'll be a 5-year-old buck, and I tell you what, I really need to go up there and just camp the whole hunting season.
Yeah, it's time. It's prime time for that buck.
Yeah, and then the tall brow buck too. He'll be back as well, and he'll be 5 years old this year. It looks the same, and so he was looked at by a guy that I can't think of the fella's name right now, and I wish I could because everybody would probably recognize him. He scores deer. He's an official Boone and Crockett scorer, and he viewed a lot of different trail cam pictures of the tall brow buck.
Yep.
And he put him around the 180-inch mark.
That's a nice deer.
So, yeah, he was and when you've seen the deer in person, golly, he's a lot thicker than what he looks, and tall. Good Lord, I about shook out of the tree stand.
I bet. Good luck with that this fall if you do head up there. That sounds like a heck of a good hunt and a nice deer if you can actually harvest one.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And if sometime around November, if y'all hear like what would sound like a lady's scream, you'll know that I probably missed him or something like that, because I probably would let out some kind of crazy yell.
I hope we don't hear that sound for multiple reasons.
Don't blame that sound on the lady.
Now, what brought you to Nashville?
Oh, well, for me, my path wasn't as cut and dry. Kari was fantastic, and so the math would equal out that she should go to Nashville. And
I hadn't planned to go to Nashville till the last minute, though, so it wasn't exactly cut and dry there either.
Yeah,
I was planning to go to college. I was already all set up for classes, and I was going to room with my sister at the University of North Dakota. And then my mom brought me on a trip to Nashville. She probably wishes she hadn't done that, but she brought me on a trip to Nashville right after my graduation in 2006, and brought me on a trip out. It was about during the same time, I think. It was like right after Fanfare, I think, or CMA Fest, they call it now. But and we spent about a week or so, and it was fun. And I was in love with the fact that there was live music all the time, opportunities to play everywhere, bands needing musicians, that sort of thing. And so I guess that was in that was in May, and by September I had moved down to Nashville. So it was. I kind of got hooked when I came and visited.
Gotcha.
For me, I was singing in a nightclub in South Alabama, and there was a guy who knew a guy, that type of thing, and he said this guy's a producer out of Nashville, and the guy came down to Alabama to watch me play with my band down there, and he said he thought I should come up, and so I came up, and they were going to pay for me to go do some recording at this other producer's studio. And so I went there, and the producer liked my sound a lot. He liked my songs, and quite honestly, I kind of struck a deal with them in a sense, and moved up here. And we went out in public a few different times, and honestly, the guy was real rude to people, and it really irked me, and it was something that I just couldn't deal with at all. And so I called him up and I said, "Hey, could you meet me? I've got some things that I need to talk to you about." And so he met me at a restaurant, and I went and I told him, I said, "Hey, I just going to be honest with you, I just can't work with you." And he gave me he was like, "What are you talking about? You have nothing. You just moved to Nashville. You don't know anybody. You're cutting your lifeline," and all those types of things. And I said, "You know what? I honestly don't feel like you treat people the way that you're supposed to. And not only do I not want to be represented by that, I don't want to be associated with it. And if this was my shot and I'm blowing it, then so be it, because I don't feel in my heart like this is the right thing." And so I walked away from that deal, and it was a whole record deal. They wanted to do albums with me, the whole 9 yards, and talking a lot of big things. But I just feel like if you don't earn things the right way, they're not gonna last. You're just building on sugar sand, And so I kind of started gigging here in town, and learning the ropes and taking different odd jobs to try to stay alive. And one thing led to another, and so it's kind of pretty cool. Things I had some successes and some different TV things and things to be proud of. But Kari and I, when we started this duo, we've gone on in a short time period to open for a lot of big artists, headlining artists. We've played a lot of state fairs and festivals from Alaska to Florida and everywhere in between. Our tour schedule is, right now we've got so many shows in so many different states coming up, and we're getting ready to be a part of CMA Fest starting tomorrow, and we get to walk the red carpet and all that good stuff. And so just really things, I don't know, they just continue to line up since Kari and I have become a duo. And I guess, part of that I'll give credit to Kari. She's just fantastic. And two, God has just really, he's really been blessing us more than what we could ever hope for and deserve.
That's outstanding. That's it sounds like you've had a very interesting journey so far, but it sounds like the road ahead is even more interesting.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there's ups and downs,
Sure.
So on the artist side, on Kari's side, she played fiddle, and there were times when she first moved here, she would do triples like daily. And
wow.
To be up there playing fiddle for 12 hours straight and, day after day, there was over a year that went by. She never saw the sunset one time because she was in a building playing music. And for someone who's never drank and never smoked or done any of those things, to be in that environment, she was such a light to so many people, and I was one of the people too. She encouraged me so much. I've never drank or done any of those things either, but I can tell you there were a lot of times I felt like I wondered if I was the only person in the world that didn't do those things, and was I in the wrong business and all that type of thing. And
right.
Kari, to see her stand in there and to become successful, it was very encouraging to me at the time, even from afar.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. Kari, you've played with a lot of big names. Reading your biography here on Facebook, tell me about playing with John Rich.
Well, that was it was definitely interesting.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was a good experience. Really something I've at first, still don't really even know how it happened or how I really deserved it, because there's just so many musicians in this town and so many people who have been building their status, I guess, and connections. And I never really was very good at the whole networking thing, and that's a big deal in Nashville. You're supposed to go out and meet people constantly and try to involve yourself in these other social circles. And, I was playing a lot, but it was a lot in the same places, and so I felt like I wasn't really expanding my social network, if you will.
Right.
And so the fact that I got the gig was just really pretty amazing, and it was kind of through a session I had done, and somebody heard, and that sort of thing, and they were kind of in a pickle. Their fiddle player had copped out on a gig, I guess, and couldn't do it, so they're trying to find a sub for a gig. And so I was just subbing the first time I played for them, and it went well, and then I ended up getting the gig full time. So I heard a lot of things before I went into the gig, a lot of people, lots of stories and different things, people who had worked with John Rich, and my experience was all good. He was honestly really into hunting and stuff as well, and
no kidding. Okay.
Yeah, really seemed very I guess politically conservative and that sort of thing. So
Sure.
When I got to play a radio tour with him as well, where it was just the two of us would go to these radio stations and play his single and that sort of thing that he was trying to push at the time. That was for Country Done Come to Town, I guess that was the song. And so, I got to hear a little bit more about sort of what he believed and that sort of thing. So I was actually, really pleasantly surprised, and my experience was all really good, and it was exciting. It was my first real opportunity at, doing the actual touring and on a real, Prevost tour bus and all that good stuff. So it was definitely a fun experience. It was fun for my family too, because they got to come out to a few of the different shows and get tickets and backstage passes and stuff like that.
Right.
So all that stuff is fun, and I did play some shows with Big and Rich as well when they got back together, right at the tail end there before Billy and I became a duo. So that was definitely a cool experience too. It's kind of odd because I had actually taught swimming lessons for Big Kenny's son a few summers before that, and and had kind of met him and his wife through that, and then I ended up playing for their band. So it was definitely a small world.
Small world. That's amazing.
Yeah,
wow.
But so just really neat experience, really a blessing. Just like I said, there's so many musicians in this town, so many fiddle players that are honestly better than I am, and the fact that I got the gig was really cool and a really good experience. So, and through that, I was able to play with artists like Gretchen Wilson and Tracy Adkins, and I even got to play 2 different shows where Sebastian Bach played, sang with us. And
he's about crazy still.
Yeah, and
wow. No kidding.
Meatloaf, and I got to play on stage with a lot of different people through that experience. So definitely. You never know, the doors that the Lord's going to open for you to experience. And I grew a lot as a musician and all that through that time.
It's quite a range of genres of music there that you've been
absolutely
plugged
John's
into.
Very into rock music. I think he's a rocker at heart, to be honest.
You can listen. His songs are power chords. He's still a rocker at heart.
Yeah, he met all those folks on that Celebrity Apprentice that he was on, and actually he won that, and I got to go out and play the season finale for that with him, with the song that he wrote for the show called For the Kids. So I got to go out to New York and play that song, just one song, but it was on television, so that was pretty cool. That's
pretty interesting. It's like, it seems like country music has evolved a lot. And talking about a rocker at heart, and it seems like the country music that my dad used to listen to when I was like 8, when he'd stand out in the garage, listen to country music, drinking Miller Lite on Sunday afternoon, isn't the same music that it is today, right? It seems to have taken on a more country rock flair.
It's definitely evolved. Music always does. When
does.
It kind of goes in waves, and sometimes always comes back to where it started. But we as a duo are technically, I guess, a lot of people consider us to be more traditional country in a sense. Mm-hmm. But even if you go back to the real traditional country, it's probably far cry from that too.
We play a little bit of everything, though. We really do. We just like music, so we're liable to play a little bit of anything.
But everybody has their own idea of what country music is and really what country way of life is. But we just try to focus. Billy writes about stuff that we feel that people will relate to. Country music, one thing people have always said about it is that it's supposed to tell a story, and I think I hope that's one thing that country music doesn't ever get away from, is really telling the stories, because that's what really sets it apart from other types of music. You've got music is music, and you've got this certain amount of chords that you can play and the different arrangements you can put them in, and music can come out sounding, country music can come out sounding rocky or poppy or that sort of thing, but really it's the story that country music is supposed to tell, and what it's supposed to stand for is, God, family, and country, and I think that's what's important, the core things that I hope country music sticks to and always comes back to.
Yeah, it seems like that foundation has always been there, probably always will be, certainly is there today. Yep, yeah, definitely. So you've got the CMA Music Fest coming up, is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, it kind of kicked off, I guess, sort of tonight. They have the big award, CMT Awards, I think it is, tonight.
Okay, yeah.
That's going on downtown, I think, probably right as we speak. And then after that, it kind of kicks off all the shows they've got down there.
It used to be called Fanfare, and we still all call it Fanfare, but now it's dubbed CMA Fest.
The reason why they call it that is really it's supposed to be a time where a lot of the artists come into town, they all come off the road for their tours and whatnot, and come back to Nashville, and all the fans come and sort of congregate, and that's when they get their chance to meet and greet with the artists and really get a lot of personal just access to talking one-on-one with them. That's what it's really supposed to be about, and that's how it started. But now they've got all the big shows as well. Out at the LP field, they put on big concerts every night of fanfare, and there's just all sorts of things going on, all sorts of free stuff being given away, and there's food, and it's really a pretty cool time. It's the time I came to visit Nashville for the first time, and that's kind of what got me hooked in the first place. So it's definitely cool, and we're excited to be a part of it this year. I mean, we've been a part of it from the outside looking in before, as musicians, and, I guess Billy's always been an artist, but, singing downtown on Broadway and the different clubs, and it's definitely a hassle with all the traffic and then unloading all your gear and all that. So we're just feel really blessed and excited to be getting to do the meet and greets this year. We're actually signing autographs and photos and stuff at the Bowtech archery booth. We're endorsed by them, and so we're signing at their sponsored booth. And we also, through that, are get to walk the red carpet and do the photo and stuff as artists. So, and with our single coming out at the end of this month, we are solidified as legitimate rising artists. So that's definitely a different outlook on fanfare than I've ever got to experience.
That's cool. That's very cool. So you get to sign autographs. You got Bowtech behind you, which is a really good bow, by the way.
Absolutely.
That's a great bow company.
They're great people too.
Yes.
It's just a great Christian organization and great products. I've been shooting a Bowtech for years now, and so when we got the opportunity to be celebrity pro staffers with them, I was just I'm still on cloud nine, just excited about it.
It's a good marriage right there. I like that.
That's right.
So you've got a single coming out.
Yeah.
Right.
Tell us about that.
June 24th. That's when it's supposed to officially go out to radio stations across the country. It's called "Play Me a Fiddle Song," and it was developed actually as a suggestion from my mom.
Oh, really?
We were recording the album. Well, we were getting ready to record the album, I guess, and we were kind of putting together all the different songs that Billy had written in his album and that sort of thing, and putting together what was going to be on there. And my mom said, there used to be so many like fiddle songs, like Charlie Daniels had "Devil Down in Georgia" and "South
Sure.
Again," and Alabama had "Dixieland Delight." And whenever you play in clubs and make your living playing tips, you constantly got someone coming up to the stage with a $5 bill saying, "Play me a fiddle song,"
Right.
and so it just sort of grew from that. And Billy was like, "Well, I'm going to write a fiddle song then, like a real actual fiddle song, that years from now, maybe if the Lord blesses us enough, somebody will be coming up to the stage in a bar saying, 'Play me a fiddle song,' and it'll be our song,
Right,
so
right.
we're that's kind of how that came to be, and just was really cool as it developed. I'm no Charlie Daniels, but we tried to put together an actual, fiddle song with lots of different solos in it. Really great pickers that we got on that album. Just awesome musicians, top-notch studio musicians that have played on lots of big records, from George Strait to Josh Turner and everything in between. So, really excited about that. It just came out really good music-wise, and, lyrically, again, it's just kind of talking about that down-home country stuff that we all love and enjoy and base our lives on. So when we talk to the record promoters and that sort of thing, they actually all unanimously voted on that song as our first single. So we hope it's something that'll catch people's attention and bring us onto the scene strong, and we'll follow it up from there.
That's cool. I'll be looking for it when it comes out, and we'll definitely promote it for you guys.
Yeah, your local radio station will have it. So so please call them and ask them to play it, and we hope that you like it. Like she said, it's just it's one of those kind of down home picking things. If you were going to have a barbecue or just kind of have a bunch of family and friends over and play some music, that's what the song's about.
That's awesome. Will it be available on iTunes as well?
It is already.
Yep, it is already.
Our whole album is actually available on iTunes, and so is Whitetail Ridge. Whitetail Ridge was a separate release actually from our album because it was written after our album was recorded.
Yeah, it'll actually go on the next album.
They're all available on iTunes. Absolutely.
So the songs are on iTunes, but a single is when you release it to a radio station. Is that correct?
That's right.
Correct.
Yep. Got it. All right. I'm a little off on radio. So we're podcasters here. We're not radio guys.
That's all right.
That's fine. We're a little off on it too. It's always growing and changing.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting. Now, have you seen Elvis down there yet?
Oh yeah, you see variations.
A lot of varieties of Elvis.
A lot of varieties, Elvis. All right, good. I'm glad he's still with us. And very good, guys. Well, thanks for spending an hour with us. And how can people reach out and contact you if they need to reach out?
Tell them to find our Facebook. If you go to kariandbilly.com, if you type that in to Google, we're the first website that pops up. And if you do that, there's a like widget on our website that'll take you right to Facebook. You can find us on YouTube if you put in Kari and Billy, Whitetail Ridge, or just Kari and Billy, and the suggestions will pop up. Yep. And
we've got a YouTube channel. If you write to us on there, we always respond. We've got Facebook fan page. If you write to us on there, we respond to everything personally. So if you write to us in a personal message, or you can even email us on our website, kariandbilly.com, those messages go straight to us. So any which way, any of those three ways. And we've got Twitter, so.
Yeah, be careful with the Twitter because
we're a little hazy on that.
Yeah,
but we're working on it. We don't really know about all the hashtags and the @ signs.
There's a whole different language over there, isn't it?
Yeah. When it doesn't look like English anymore, I'll have a tough time. So when there's a pound sign and an @ sign and all that. So if you write us on there and we don't get right back with you, forgive us. We're not trying to be all Hollywood on you. We're just not the greatest in the world at it.
All right, so stick to the email, stick to Facebook, and everything will be okay.
Probably.
Right. Thank you so much for spending an hour with me and our fans on Big Buck Registry, and hopefully we'll have you back again.
Thank you so much, man. You take care. Stay in touch.
All right, we'll do. All right, everybody. That was Kari and Billy. Thank you so much to Kari and Billy for joining us on the show and sharing their experiences in Nashville, Tennessee, and all the best of luck to them in their careers and climbing up the country music charts. That is awesome. And if you would like to download any of the songs or even the album, their album is called Whole Lotta Love, and it can be found on iTunes at itunes.apple.com. Just type in Kari and Billy, Kari and Billy, and you'll pull up the entire album. It's selling for $9.99 for the entire thing. It's under the country music pop easy listening genre. Or if you just like to download Whitetail Ridge or even their upcoming single called Play Me a Fiddle Song, that's also, it's only $1 for any one of those songs. But if you're like me, if you're like what I think most of the Big Buck Registry community is all about, you probably want to grab that entire album. So again, best of luck to Kari and Billy. Hopefully we'll hear about them some more down the road. And certainly call into your local country music stations and ask them to play Me a Fiddle Song. That's their single that's going to be coming out and be available for play on the radio here at the end of this month. All right, so that's a show, everybody. That's a wrap. This is Jay Scott, your host of the Big Buck Registry. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can send me an email at j@bigbuckregistry.com. You can also find us on the website at bigbuckregistry.com or Facebook, which is facebook.com/Big Buck Registry. Or you can also find us on Twitter, Big Buck Registry. That's our handle. And again, if you would like to donate to the Big Buck Registry, just find our donate page. You can go to our Facebook and click on donate. We just need a few bucks to try to keep everything rocking and rolling here at the Big Buck Registry, and we could always use a hand. So if you're feeling generous this week, if you get a couple extra bucks, $5, we don't care. We're just trying to break even here and keep things going. So again, this is Jay Scott, your host of the Big Buck Registry. We'll see you next time right here on the Big Buck Registry, Big Buck Podcast, and I'm going to leave you with a little bit of Kari and Billy.
We all have a Whitetail Ridge. We love our country, we love this land, and we're proud to be free. From the ground we plow, the stands we hang, we believe